All right, welcome back, everybody, to Phase 3 of Survivor Pearl Islands here on Strategic Gaming. As always, I'm Mac Taylor. So we start out here, Rupert really missing his wife, missing home. But, it drives him forward to really want to win this game. Brings home the bacon for the family. John and Burton, they really want that flip. They want Rupert gone. And, any chance they get from here on out, they're going to take it. John and Burton talk to Dara and Tawana. And really try to put the plan into action here. Meanwhile, Rupert hunting sharks, trying to get the sharks brought home. So we get a shipwreck obstacle course. For reward, pizza and beer. It comes down to Rupert and John versus Burton and Lil. Burton wins. Burton and Lil win. And decides to give his up to John, not Rupert. Rupert very upset. Figured it would be paid forward to him. But he wants John to talk to Lil, really get Lil in place for the Rupert vote. And Lil kind of feels a little bad about taking the reward. Doesn't like people being mad at her. And John and Burton have a little meeting. And what they don't know is Sandra is in the bush behind them. She's listening to their conversation. She hears Rupert's name being brought up, so she runs to Rupert. And Rupert tries to get info from Lil. Trying to get Lil back on side, and Lil's going to do some lying here. And then you have to try to shoot a dart into someone else's place on the dartboard to eliminate them. And Krista's out, then Dara, then Rupert, Tawana, Sandra, John. Comes down to Lil and Burton. Burton's going to win immunity here. John and Burton, they're solid. They want a final 2. Lil still kind of conflicted. Doesn't know if she wants to vote against Rupert. Vote comes out 5-2 to 1. Rupert voted out of Survivor Pearl Islands. Very sad day. And so this is a very famous moment of the show. So Rupert's gone. And on the way back to camp, Sandra is going to run up, grab the fish that Rupert had caught, and she goes to throw it in the woods, but she trips and falls and spills it in the woods. And before everybody had walked back to camp, she turns around, starts a fight with John, so that people will draw attention to her arguing with John, not the fish thing. And then when the fish come up missing, the blame is put on Krista. And Sandra's just gonna let her take it. Not gonna speak up. So we get the loved ones reward. You have to make them walk the plank. And Fairplay, this is probably the most famous Survivor moment. Fairplay's friend, Thunder D, I think is his name, comes up, and Fairplay's like, how's Grandma? And he says, she's dead, dude. And so Fairplay does some acting here, and everyone's like, oh no, Johnny, I'm so sorry. Except for Sandra's like, I think I'm going to call bullshit here. So Sandra's trying to get Thunder D out, and everyone's like, Sandra! Lil goes, Sandra, his grandma died. Have some. However, even though Sandra tried to call out Fairplay, Fairplay wins reward, or gets given reward. And so everybody has to go to this other part of the island. Fairplay and Thunder D on the island themselves. And Fairplay's laughing like, oh, I can't believe they fell for such a dumb lie. Thunder D's like, yeah, it's a good thing you planned that for the show, and blah, blah, blah. Kind of a dirty move. Fairplay, definitely the strategist with no moral compass. But it was a very entertaining moment on television. Sandra and Krista, they're trying to reel in Tawana to vote with them. Tawana doesn't really want to do it. Just wants to stay with Burton and John. But Sandra still doing the spying. So she brings Tawana to listen to it, and they hear, oh yeah, Tawana and Dara are so dumb. We're going to vote them out soon. They're such idiots. And Tawana's like, well, fine. I'll flip on Burton. We get Scrabble immunity. Burton wins originally, but the decision is reversed because his or if his words are spelled incorrectly or something. So they do a time trial. Re-immunity. Burton disqualified. Knock it off. And Dara wins the actual immunity here. John wants to flip, get T out. Doesn't like that T's talking about voting Burton. And by a vote of 5-2, Tawana's gone. And real quick, Rupert, I forgot to eulogize because I talk about Rupert so much. He's the character that when you think of Survivor, I think you think of Boston Rob, Sandra, but you think of Rupert first. I think Rupert is a polarizing figure. Great television, such a sweet, genuine guy, and a really good Survivor player. He's not the best at strategy, but he is really good at every other aspect of the game. His only flaw is that he's too good. And Tawana, really, someone at the start of the game I thought was going to go early, and then ends up getting herself in a majority alliance. Really does a great job playing the game. I'm really impressed with Tawana, and I really think it was a mistake of Sandra not to take out Burton here, and instead taking out Tawana, who I think was a much less of a threat than Burton. But nevertheless, Sandra ends up winning this season, so it really doesn't matter what I think about her game. It worked. And so now there's this question. Will the Drakes ride to the Final Four? Will they just take out Lil and Dara and make it an all-Drake Final Four? Sandra, she's trying to sway Dara. She wants Dara to work with her and Krista. And Burton, he's getting better at catching fish. He's no Rupert, but he's trying to provide. And we get a water obstacle course reward for a spa day. It is Sandra, Krista, and Burton versus Dara, Lil, and John. Lil, Dara, and John win reward. And John, he wants to use this time to sway Dara. John always uses the rewards to his advantage. I think the first time this season's the first time we see someone use the reward challenge to talk strategy, to try to get something to work. And John and Burton both do use this to their advantage. They do invent the strategy of using the reward challenge to make a move, because you get time alone with people, which I think is a brilliant thing. Johnny Fairplay, even though some people don't like him due to his no moral compass, I think he's a good Survivor player. Sandra, she's hammering Burton at camp. She's trying to find the crack, trying to figure out what's going on here. And Burton does not answer questions very well. But John, he swears things on his grandma now, knowing that people think she's dead, so they think that this is going to be... It's a card for him to use, and he really doesn't care because she's not dead. And Lil's kind of starting to waver a little bit, and John's trying to reel her back in during the reward challenge, the reward trip. Lil's kind of getting on John's nerves. And Krista and Burton, now they're talking about just taking Dara out. And John then goes to Dara and tries to make a final two with Dara. And just talks about how good the food was. It's not the best move, but Johnny Fairplay is known for being a dick, so. John and Burton, they're just lying left and right. They're trying to be like good cop, bad cop. Burton's the good guy, Fairplay's the douchebag. Like, they are an interesting duo. Like, they are fun to watch together. And in a Sandra-less game, I think that they would go infinitely farther. So they get shooting the target to light it on fire immunity. Dara wins immunity, second in a row. Now Sandra and Krista, they think Lil's going to go. And everybody else wants Krista out. And just true to that, by a vote of 4-2, Sandra's on the wrong side of the vote again. Krista voted out. And I think Krista played a good game. She aligned with Rupert and Sandra, and she was not targeted for a while, really stayed out of the limelight. And I really think Krista was good at social interactions, and I think she might have even cut Sandra's throat if she had to. I really am a little sad that Krista never played again, because I think she definitely could have done better on a second go. So John, he wants Dara out next because she's won 2 immunities. She's too tough. Let's get her out. Lil's like, no, I don't want to take out Dara. I want to take out Sandra. John's like, no, Lil, what the fuck are you talking about? We're going to take out Dara. And she's like, I don't want to take out Dara. He's like, Lil, quit. Lil, you're so useless. Like, John gets very annoyed with her. Because Lil's very wishy-washy. So we get the past challenges reward to get this Panamanian feast. Burton is going to win reward. Takes John. And it's the car. Going to get the infamous car curse. Burton going to get it. Again, taking fair play. The girls, they're going to talk about, let's get a guy out, which is the thing. So basically, Burton and John, they're like, what? Girls aren't smart enough to team up. Lil's going to keep that from happening. We're good. We're going to go have fun on our reward. And the girls are so dumb. And Sandra and Dara and Lil are like, yeah, we got to take out one of the boys. Like, obviously, we got to take out one of the boys. Lil's like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. Because Lil never really wants to do anything. She wants to just exist, and she pretty much just does. The boys, yes, feeling very cocky. Lil's very conflicted. Sandra, she does a good job when the boys come back, feeling like, oh, I'm next, woe is me, like, I'm so sad, and playing up her threat, playing up like the, oh, I'm giving in kind of thing. And fair play feels really good about it. So we get the plank walk, flag immunity. Dara wins her 3rd immunity in a row, becoming a bit of a comp beast here. John feels like he's losing control, and Sandra really does kind of talk about her infamous game strategy of, hey, I'm going to vote out anybody as long as it's not me. As long as it ain't me, that's okay. And by a vote of 3-2, Burton blindsided. Fair play is once again now on the bottom. Final thoughts on Burton. He is a really good Survivor player. Surprised he was never brought back. I guess he technically was with the Outcast twist. But, the first part of the game didn't really do him justice. After he came back, he really evolved into a good player. Was very social. His biggest downfall is he got way too cocky. Him and fair play was more fair play. But Burton was a victim of it too, as he thought he was in control of the game, and he wasn't in total control. There was cracks, and a player like Sandra can capitalize on small cracks, and he did not expect that to happen. So Burton got a little too big, and Sandra cut it. And with that, we're gonna go right into Phase 4. We're talking about the Final 4. They got Dara, Johnny Fairplay, Lil, and Sandra. They're going to be the Final 4 of Survivor Pearl Islands. And what a Final 4. I mean, one of them technically didn't make it as far. She was voted out, but did come back. They get mimosas. They get letters from home. Fun times. John, he's like, I got to find a way to not go here. I'm feeling very insecure. Trying to work Lil like, hey, we'll make a tie vote. Dara wants Lil out. Dara would like her and Sandra to be the final 2. So we get a Q&A immunity, but it's against the jury. And if the jury wins, nobody's safe. And Rupert takes charge, and the jury wins immunity. So nobody's safe. And by a vote of 3-1, Dara voted out. Her threat level was too big. She started out in a terrible spot. especially not working with Nicole and Ryan S. and Lil. She managed to put really bad players like Lil and Ryan S. were targeted before her. And then when the Pagonging and the Mortgage Tribe started, no one was thanking Dara. She had Austin quit too, which kind of she got lucky in the beginning. Managed to fade into obscurity and then just went on a 3-in-a-row immunity streak here. It's crazy. And yeah, I mean, it was those 3 runs that put the target on her back, but honestly, that really made her stand out to me. She wasn't the biggest character. She was kind of socially awkward, but as a mortician kind of would be. But she really was a physical threat. And I think taking her out here at the Final Four was the perfect move. So we get the Fallen Comrades, and they're going to burn the ship full of these torches, which is so cool. I love the pirate theme of this season. I think it's so awesome. And we get an endurance immunity. Comes down to John and Lil, and who would have ever thought Lil wins immunity? Fair Play desperately tries to make a deal. But Lil's like, no, nope, no deals. No, I'm done making deals with you, Fair Play. So Fair Play scratched and clawed. But, and Lil, she doesn't know what she wants to do. Sandra's like, yeah, she's probably not going to take me. But she boots John, takes Sandra to the final 2, and Sandra's shocked. She's like, I don't know how the hell that happened. Meanwhile, Johnny Fairplay, he was a hell of a character. Total villain. Really mistake they didn't put him on Heroes for Villains. He was just a loony, but he had a great strategy. And, he has an immoral compass, so he was able to do things that most people wouldn't do to get far in the game. He's like Rob Sesternino from last season, but without morals. He was a dirtier version. And, that this season definitely benefited from Fair Play. So we get the jury questions. Rhino says, hey, Lil, you were voted out, and Sandra, you rode coattails. What the hell do you deserve to win? Decent questions. And Rupert's like, Sandra, did you know I was going to get voted out? And Sandra's like, no, I didn't, and I didn't vote you out, which is all true. Sandra was not going to write Rupert's name down. And Tawana, why do you deserve to win? Decent question. Krista's is, what are you hiding about your game? What is your game? Again, good question. Good question. We didn't have a bunch of shitty questions like last year's. Burton's is all about, survival and strategy. Again, asking about strategy. It's good. Dara asks, how did you get here? What was your path to get here? Great question. Fair Play asks about Puerto Rican representation, because he just basically didn't really have a question to ask. He's not going to vote for Lil. He hates Lil. So that's how that was going to shake out. And Lil basically just won't shut up. She says, I'm Lillian Morris. I should have left the Boy Scout uniform at home. And I'm a Boy Scout. And I should have known that being a Boy Scout in this game, I was going to have to tell some lies. And being a Boy Scout, you shouldn't tell lies, because I'm a Boy Scout and I'm Lillian Morris. Shut the fuck up, Lil. Stop talking about Boy Scouts and talk about your survivor strategy. And Sandra said, hey, I was a team player at first, but I had the anybody but me strategy. I played the game the way I needed to play the game, and I got here because of me. I was not dragged here. Great thing by Sandra. Vote comes down 6-1. Sandra, the winner of Survivor Pearl Islands. The one vote for Lil was Tawana, which I didn't understand. But, hey, she voted with how I guess she felt the season should go. Final thoughts on Lil. She got super lucky. She got to the final 2. I mean, she was voted out. The Outcast twist had put her in a good spot. She did a little bit of a good work with Fair Play and Burton, but she was so wishy-washy. She was such a character, and she wouldn't shut up about the Boy Scouts. So, she definitely didn't need to ever play again. And, definitely got super lucky that she got second place. I think 9 times out of 10, she is a pre-jury boot, just like she originally was going to be initially. Sandra, fantastic with the Anybody But Me strategy being invented there. She played a super, super low-key game. And some people don't think that's impressive. But she did. I mean, she hid in the bushes to hear Burton and John. She was always running info. Like, she wasn't a passive player. She did do things. It's just there were so many big characters. Laying low for a little bit was the smart move. But she was very, very bad at challenges. But kind of proving you don't need to win immunity at all. She never won an immunity. Didn't have to. Still won the game. Crazy. And with that, that's the end of our discussion of Survivor Pearl Islands. Stay tuned next time. We're going to talk about Survivor All-Stars. Talk about kind of how that season disappointed me a little bit. Until next time, I'm Mac Taylor. Y'all have a good one.
It's time for the Strategic Gaming Awards Survivor Edition. Who will get Mac's favorite player? God, please be Rupert. Who played the best game? Who played the worst game? Let's find out. Here's your host, Mac Taylor.
Thanks, anonymous voice in my head. So, Pearl Islands, first of all, fantastic season. Loved it. Let's go ahead. Let's start off with worst game. Ooh. Worst game of Pearl Islands is going to go to... Worst game is going to go to Lil. Because Lil had a few opportunities early on, like to work with Nicole and things like that, and she really squandered it. She was very bad at convincing people to do stuff. She was just good at following orders. And she talked about the Boy Scouts way too damn much. So I just... she is forever lucky that she was a runner-up and got, as much money as she did. And, leave the Scout uniform at home and maybe leave Lillian Morris at home too. The best game is going to go to... And I'm actually doing a dual award because I think they played their game together for the most part. So Johnny Fairplay and Burton, I think they strategized together. They had a great, overthrow of Rupert, and they were running the game and setting themselves up. The only downfall was that Sandra was listening to them talk and was managed to unravel all that they did toward the end. But really, Fairplay and Burton had a great... Fairplay was the brains, Burton was the brawn, and they were running the show for a while. And because of that, I really do have to give them that. Least favorite player, I'm going to have to go with Austin Taylor just because he quit. Quitters piss me off, especially this late in the game, because some of those other people would have scratched and clawed and given anything to have your spot, and you're just going to throw it away, and it's very upsetting. So Austin's going to be my default least favorite player. But my favorite player is going to go to Tawana I'm just kidding. It's Rupert Bonham. How can you not love this guy? He's amazing. He's fantastic. He's the nicest guy in the world, but he's the biggest, he's a beast. He's ripping trees down with his bare hands and catching fish with a spear, but he's the big burly man who's got the heart of gold. He's a teddy bear, and you gotta love him. And with that, that's going to end the awards.
This has been the Strategic Gaming Awards Survivor Edition. Stay tuned next time for Survivor All-Stars. God, I hope Rupert gets it twice in a row.
Me too, voice in my head. Me too.